everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Fallon, and today I'm going to be sharing with you this amazing quilt that I made. It is Tumbling Triangles, and it is a Studio 180 modern design pattern. So let me show you the pattern that I used. It was such an amazing pattern and so easy to follow. And this pattern is using the Deb Tucker's V-block trimmer. So this is what the trimmer looks like. And today I'm going to show you how to use the trimmer, and it makes these beautiful V-blocks. It's so easy to use. I was so surprised with how easy it was to use. So let's jump in and take a look at it. All right, so if you want a closer look at this pattern, you can see all the little V-blocks here. So in this demo, I am going to be using different fabrics, and I am going to be making these V-blocks a little larger so that you can see them better. So here is the trimmer, and there's a bunch of different lines on here, but it really is easy to use. First, we're going to be using this side to get our triangles to use. So we're going to have center triangles, and let me make sure I'm giving the correct name. So we're going to be making the V-block center triangles first and the V-block sides next. So I have 5-inch strips here, and the first ones I'm going to use are for the center block. So like I said, this is a larger strip than I used before, but it all works the same either way. So I need the folded center over here, and I'm going to fold it to the side. It'll just keep everything lined up better, but I'm going to fold it to the side and line this dotted line up, and you can see this says fold line for center triangles. So you want this lined up on that fold line, and you want to make sure you have enough fabric overlapping, and try to get this as straight as you can here. So dotted line lined up, looks good. And then I'm just going to cut right across here. Then we'll have 2 center block triangles. Now to do the rest of the cuts, I was a little worried because it's a lot of turning, but as long as you're careful, you'll keep everything pretty straight. So you're going to flip this over, and now you're lining up for both triangles. So instead of it being folded, you're lining up on this triangle line across here. So I'm going to make sure I have everything straight, because you can look at the line down here and across here. So I'll make my cut. Now I have 4 center block triangles, and then you would flip again and just keep trimming like that. So you line up the diagonal line here. It says center triangle. So line it up. Then you can see that dotted line we used before is going down the center. You can use this bottom line to make sure you're straight as well if you need to, and make your cut. So, I didn't get one of the threads. So you would just keep doing that until you had the correct amount of center triangles that you need. But I'm going to set this to the side, and we will take a look at the V-block sides. Close that blade. So first we're going to need to start with a straight cut. And then something you'll want to keep in mind for these blocks is that you're going to need mirror images. So my fabric is wrong sides together right now, so I'll have a mirror image of each cut that I make. So this time we're going to be lining up where we have a cut line for side triangles. It's this darker line is right with the edge of our fabric. All right, so we trim there, and you can see that we have a mirror image. I can open these. See how that's a mirror image? I always get them on the wrong side. So then we'd be sewing them on either side of the triangle like that to make our square. So if you're making a bunch of these, you could keep them lined up like that so that you know how they'll look for sure. And now, let me see. So now for the second side, you'll use, so the first side we use this side. For the second side, you'll use side triangle trim number 2. Line that line right up along there. And trim. And then you would turn your ruler back to the other side. The dark line that says cut for side triangle is lined up across that straight edge. And you would trim. Then turn your ruler to the other side and you see side triangle trim number 2. Line it up. And trim across the other side. All right, so now we have a few of these trimmed, but you would see that you would keep making these side triangles and center blocks for however many you need to complete the quilt that you are making. So now that we have a few of these together, what you would do is sew a 1/4 inch seam along each side. So I would sew a 1/4 inch seam along here, press it open, and then sew on the other side. So I'm going to sew the first side and press it so that you can see, and then sew the second time and press it, and then we'll look at trimming the block. Okay, so I have one side sewn on, so I'm going to press this block. And now I'm going to sew the other side on and we'll press again. So I actually line up, see how the corner will go over and line up exactly there? And then I line up this corner at the point of the triangle down here. So I essentially keep the fabric completely lined up across. All right, so I'm going to press this side now. And the V block actually looks pretty good already, doesn't it? But we can trim it down to make it a little more perfect if we need to. So let's go ahead and trim. So we're going to put the V block making an actual V. And we're going to find, because these are going to be finished at 4 inches. So we find that 4, create a V here. So you can see we have a V lined up along each side, or a black line lined up along each side of the V. And we're going to trim along the side and the top here. Then we'll turn the square the opposite way. And this time we're going to line up the cut size 4, no, 4.5. And we have a V here just to check and make sure that we're lined up. So our cut size is 4.5 because our finished block is 4 after seam allowances. So be sure to remember that when you're using this, because at first I was a little confused, and then it came back to me using it the second time that our finished size for this block is 4 inches. So when we're first trimming with it at the V shape, we're using the 4, but when we turn it, the cut size for this block is 4.5 inches. Once it's sewn together, it'll finish at 4. So keep that in mind. All right, so there is our finished block. I'm gonna make the other few that I have here so that you can see a few more finished. All right, so here are 4 finished V blocks. And you could make whatever kind of block you would want with it. Sew them together. Do whatever you would like. They just turn out so perfect. So let me know in the comments if you have a favorite way to make V blocks, if you've used this trimmer before, what you think of it. I really love it. I think it works so well. I have never had V blocks turn out so beautifully before. The quilts I made with them, the wall hanging size quilt, looks absolutely amazing. Even with tiny, tiny little V blocks, they all turn out so perfect. I am really starting to love all of the Studio 180 trim tools. I know I've done a lot of videos on them lately, but they are so easy to follow. They work so well, and I cannot wait to get more of them. I will put in the description of this video a link to this trimmer and the pattern I used. I purchased both of mine at my local quilt shop, but I'll put a link to somewhere that you can buy them online, but also check your local quilt shop to see if they have them there. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.